Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here's your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, my friends, I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and it is good to be back here with you on this Monday. I want to talk today. You may have seen a clip around circulating, on social media where Fox News had a spokesperson, or I guess the co-chair actually, from the Democratic Socialists of America on talking about the ideas and policies embraced by people who are, well, part of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. I want to play that. These are deranged, insane ideas. These are dangerous ideas, my friends. And yes, I'm battling, if you're watching on the camera, I'm battling some allergies today in the studio as well. Never fear, we will fight through it, my friends. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about there's lots of things I want to get to. The DSA's policies, their platform, their ideas. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how far too many Democrats are supportive of these ideas and policies. So that's where we're headed today, my friends. If you want to be part of the conversation, share your thoughts and questions, you can do so by simply texting 317-785-1030. Again, 317-785-1030. Or you can always email Todd at toddhuffshow.com. Friends, if you are concerned about your cholesterol, let me ask you a question. Would you rather take 2 soft gels every day or spend hours in your doctor's office talking about your cholesterol? I know what I would choose, my friends. That's why I take Solti. It's an all-natural, clinically proven dietary supplement that lowers your cholesterol. No prescriptions, no doctor's visits. Friends, it's not even a drug. This is a natural supplement. You just take 2 soft gels a day. That's all it takes to take care of your heart's health. So your family needs you healthy. Your church, your community, your business, they all need you strong. And this country, dare I say, needs you to stay in the fight. So we need you healthy here as well. Solti is a simple way to make sure you're around for the long haul. You can go to Solti.com, S-O-L-T-E-A, Solti.com. Promo code Todd is going to save you 50% off and get you free shipping to boot for your first 3-month supply. Again, Solti.com, S-O-L-T-E-A, promo code Todd. Get you 50% off your first 3-month supply and free shipping. All right, my friends, let's talk a little bit about this. Actually, let's just go ahead and cue this up because we have her name here, Megan Romer. She's the DSA co-chair, Democratic Socialists of America. She's sitting down with Shannon Bream on Fox News. Shannon Bream says, hey, let me go through a list of the stated platform positions for your deranged, that's my word, not Shannon Bream's, ideas and your party's platform here. Let's go through these, and I want to ask you about these things. And so she does. And Megan Romer, I guess to her credit, admits what she's really up to. You know, before I do that, let me share with you. Now, there's a poll. Friends, this is wild. According to recent polling, 66% of Democrats have a favorable view of socialism, which is absolutely wild to me, especially if you paid any attention to anything that happened in the 20th century, where socialism, which is what always turns into communism, outright socialism, was responsible through communism, its kissing cousin, for killing nearly 100 million people in the 20th century. And if you are a student of the public school, I'm kidding, but if you're a student of the public school system, the 20th century would be the 1900s. So in the 1900s, an estimated 100 million people were killed by socialist, communist governments. That's incredible, my friends. Now we have 2/3, 2 out of every 3 Democrats who reportedly, according to polling, have a favorable view of socialism. If you want to go back into the history of Gallup's polls, you can find in 2010, 53% of Democrats had favorable views towards socialism. In 2018, it had risen to 57%. And now this was in 2025. In 2025, 66% of Democrats have favorable views towards socialism. It never works. Ideologically speaking, just from a perspective of what these ideas are, socialism is a creed of envy. Socialism is about, it's interesting to me. People who are socialists will attack the wealthy, and they will say that the wealthy are greedy, but yet these same socialists want what the wealthy have. And so they themselves are actually becoming the greedy people themselves, demonstrating for that for all of us to see. And now we have 2 out of every 3 Democrats wanting to be, at least favorable somewhat to democratic socialism, which of course is an oxymoron. This idea, democratic socialism, is that you can take what your neighbor has if a majority of people say that you can take it. That is bizarre. That is not rooted in American ideas. That is a dangerous way to live one's life. But nonetheless here, Shannon Bream, Fox News, has the co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America on her program to talk about these ideas. And I want you to listen to this exchange between Shannon Bream and Megan Romer, who is the co-chair for the Democratic Socialists of America. Listen.
So we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform. And I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay.
True.
Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, she says. So just to run through that's just kind of the highlights there. She wants to abolish the U.S. Senate. She wants to abolish the presidency. She wants to abolish the Supreme Court. Now, it's easy to chuckle at this. It's easy to hear these things and think, oh my goodness, this stuff is crazy. But this is the sort of stuff, they've opened a door. They've connected with people on a level that connects to their wants and dreams and ambitions. It's easy to say someone else is at fault for whatever circumstance I find myself in life, and they should pay. They should pay me. They should have their wealth redistributed and given to people like me, not me, the host of this program. I'm talking about the perspective of the average socialist out there. That's what they think is fair. They want to totally burn this structure of our government to the ground. Again, abolishing the Senate, abolishing the presidency, and abolishing the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I mean, they're talking completely, but listen, this is in the Constitution of the United States of America. These things were framed by the founding fathers. These ideas, these institutions, which I don't deny that there are problems within our government. I talk about those on this program on a regular basis each and every day. But the idea that the solution is to abolish these institutions is outright insane and crazy. So not only does she want to abolish the Senate, these Democratic Socialists, they want to abolish the Supreme Court. They want to abolish the presidency, President of the United States. Of course, they would like to do a lot worse to the president himself, but nonetheless, they want to also abolish ICE, they want to abolish borders, and they want to abolish prisons. Listen, abolishing borders is a wild take, of course. You know, we have autonomy here in this country. All nation states do. Sovereignty, in fact. They want to abolish borders for that. Why? How does that work? What does that look like? She doesn't elaborate. It is absolutely insane, but this is what they want to do. And of course, if there are no borders, there's no need for ICE because there's no immigrations and custom enforcement because there's no need for that because you have borders. Not only that, even if you did have laws on the book and if you did have people who broke the laws and you had people that you could charge with crimes, and if we still had a court in existence under this delusional worldview that these Democratic Socialists want, what do you do with the people who are found guilty of crimes? There's no prisons. Listen, I'm not here to defend this, the way that the prison system works, but the idea that there should be people roaming our streets who are violent, who have proven that they have broken the law, they have enacted violence and harmed their neighbor, their fellow man across this country, and that there are no consequences for that, that they should just be, I guess, running around freely, getting counseling or some sort of other services is just a wild, wild take. These people do not live in reality. They do not live in a place where common sense is even, not only where common sense doesn't reign, they don't live where common sense exists. These folks have completely lost their minds. They want to defund the Pentagon. Listen, you can understand that there have been problems in our, again, governmental structure within the Pentagon, even without saying that the answer is to totally defund it and get away with it. They also want mass amnesty for illegal aliens. I commend this spokesperson here for at least being honest and straightforward and candid with the American people on her appearance at Fox News. She's answering these questions correctly. You know, it's remarkable to me how little people know about this country, how it's framed, how it's set up, the beauty of the ideas that we have here. It's amazing to me that they are willing to totally throw those overboard and replace them with ideas that resemble places like Cuba, Venezuela, the Soviet Union. It is absolutely uncanny to me that people would do this. And on top of that, to find that there are 2/3, 2 out of every 3 Democrats are in at least a position where they find these ideas to be favorable to some degree. That should be mildly terrifying to all of us in this nation today who value freedom, who value liberty, who value free markets and capitalism, who value the Constitution of the United States, who value the Bill of Rights. We should be shivering to the degree that these folks now have a bigger and bigger platform and that they are gaining support. I would venture to say that most people, though, who say that they support socialism have no idea why they support it. I don't think they know any of these ideas, these practical next steps that are given by the people who lead this deranged group of insanity, these Democratic Socialists of America. But nonetheless, this is where we find ourselves, my friends, here in 2026. If you've tuned in on the camera, you'll see my eyes. I tell you, a couple times a year, I struggle with allergies, and it's always attacked my eyes. In fact, when I was a little kid, so my eyes are red is the point if you're watching. I'm fine, but my eyes are red and watery. As a little kid, I can tell you this, though. I remember going to the baseball field. I don't know what it was that I was allergic to there at the baseball diamonds. I think it might have been honeysuckle, but regardless, there were times that my eyes would actually swell shut, both of them, at the same time. I was too young and just a kid to even care too much. It was a little bit, I don't know, inconvenient because I wanted to play or whatever, but I used to have to get inside and put some cold rags on my eyes, and it would usually go away rather quickly. It's gotten much better. I don't have that problem anymore. I just have lingering redness and watery eyes. So if you tune in and see that, there's a reason for that, my friends. It's simply seasonal allergies, and they seem to come and go whenever they decide to hit. Friends, let's be honest. When your financial world starts getting a little more complicated, you need more than one-size-fits-all advice. That's where Full Suite Wealth shines the brightest. Their team specializes in working with families and individuals at your level, offering personalized guidance that goes far beyond the basics. From private equity and private credit to options, strategies, and coordinated legal planning, Full Suite Wealth helps you see the big picture and make confident decisions about your legacy. It's all about having a dedicated team to guide you each and every step of the way so that you can focus on what matters most, your family, your goals, and of course, your future, my friends. Want real financial confidence in your life? Well, visit fullsuitewealth.com. That's fullsuitewealth.com. Build your legacy, secure your future. We have a battle, my friends. We have a battle, and it's our work's cut out for us. When I think about this country, and I think about what it's going to look like in 5 years. Heck, after this next election, right? We have a midterm election here in just a couple of months. But in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, 50 years, what is this country going to look like? We just celebrated our 250th birthday here in this great nation. I love this nation. I love what this nation was founded upon. I make no apologies for it. I think for those, if we just explain what it is and people understand what this nation was founded to be, how it was founded to operate, that is a message that is appealing to most people. I would say to all people, unless they want to automatically become takers. For all people who see that you have been given a gift by God to have this life, to live on this planet at this time in this country, you find yourselves, you're a one percenter, my friends, if you find yourself living in America today. And listen, I say that everybody can have their own personal difficulties, problems relationally with health problems. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the standard of living that exists today. I'm talking about the technology, the opportunity that exists today here in the United States of America. We have a tremendous opportunity each and every day that we wake up. When we wake up every morning, it is a gift. It is an opportunity, and the sky is the limit. I'm not saying that we don't have other considerations and other factors that we have to balance, and sometimes it's not easy. In fact, sometimes it's downright difficult. But we have tremendous opportunities that the rest of the world, the people that have gone before us throughout history, just simply have not had these opportunities and this the wealth and the standard of living that we have today. It's all what we choose to do with it. And listen, again, I know that there's difficulties we all face. I know that there can be divorce and bankruptcies and health problems and all sorts of challenges and setbacks. There's no doubt about that. But the opportunity to do something about it in this country is unmatched in the historical viewpoint of life on this planet. We have been richly, my friends, richly blessed. And that is truly, that's hanging in the balance, because socialism does not allow for that. Socialism takes from the producers and gives to the takers. That's the way that it works. It disincentivizes effort. It disincentivizes risk. It takes away the rewards of well, just trying to develop ideas and innovations and so forth. It is not an ideology that is compatible with true freedom. If you're not free to do what you want with your money, my friends, you're not truly free at all. And this is not an American idea. This is an idea that is pushed upon us by lovers of big government, by people who paint these pictures of utopia and tell the American people, or whoever they're speaking to, whoever they're speaking with out there across this vast globe, that socialism is the ticket to make things equal, to make sure that outcomes are what they should be. Sometimes they're told this gets even with the person or the group of people that you can blame for your problems. In fact, they owe you, you're told. They owe you for your trouble and difficulty because they've stolen from you to begin with. Of course, my friends, this is the appeal. This is the message. Socialism, it says that it's trying to combat greed when in reality it's fueling greed. You know, you don't have to be wealthy. You can be wealthy and be greedy. You can be poor and be greedy. You can be middle income class and be greedy. Greed is a condition of the heart, and whether or not you have a lot already or nothing, desiring what is not yours and wanting it to be taken from someone else and given back to you is not something that I aspire to. I don't know any person who truly gets things done in life if they don't think like that, my friends. That's not how producers and entrepreneurs and problem solvers and ambitious people think. That's not how it works. You have to take risks. You have to put your own skin in the game. You have to develop skills, improve in areas that you were not proficient in earlier in your career. That's how real growth and developments takes place. And of course, socialism cuts all of that off at the root, my friend. So this idea that socialism is somehow going to solve our problems, I get it. It's being spoken to people who see problems in the economy today, and they think that the problems that they see have a solution, and it's called the government coming in through socialism and making things right. That is a dangerous step to take. It has not worked before. It will not work now, even here in the United States of America. It has to be stopped. We have to get the truth out there about freedom, about our constitutional republic, about capitalism, free markets, and so forth. I'm out of time here in the first segment, my friends. Quick timeout is needed to be taken, and I'm going to oblige. Sit tight, though. You're listening here to Conservative, Not Bitter Talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Talking here about socialism, how socialism is becoming more and more accepted, has a more favorable view amongst Democrats than it did even, say, 15 years ago, which it does. That's what surveys, what polling has shown us. 66%, according to Pew, I believe, 66% of Democrats now hold a favorable view of socialism. Why? I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think some people don't understand what it is. I think some people, in fact, ask a Democrat who says that they are in favor of socialism and see what they say. Now, some of them will certainly believe in the tenets of hardcore leftist socialism. They certainly will be a lover of big government, no doubt about it. But most of them simply are following the headlines. They don't really know much of anything about the ideology of socialism. They don't know about the history of socialism. They don't know that the Nazis were socialists. Now, the left will dispute that and say that there's some sort of a game being played with words and so forth. But Nazis literally has socialism in its name. This is not a morally superior worldview. This is something that, again, people adopt or find themselves playing footsie with for a variety of reasons. Some of them simply think that it'll make their lives easier, that someone else should pay for their education, that that's only fair, that that sounds right. I should be able to get something else from my government. That's how some people think who are attracted to the allure of socialism. But they don't really know. Some people think, well, if you have a fire department and a police force, you've already got socialism, as though any form of government services automatically becomes a socialist economy. That's, of course, foolishness and nonsensical. But this is what the radicals want. They want the government to take control. I mean, I played for you the clip of the Democratic Socialists of America, the co-chair out there saying, yeah, this is exactly what we want. We want democratic. We want the people to take control of companies. That's what we want. We want there to be no Senate. We want there to be no presidency. We want there to be no Supreme Court. This is dangerous, my friends. Some very dangerous ideas out there, but many folks don't know. They don't understand. They don't know any of that. They simply hear, wow, free services. That sounds like a good thing. It sounds good to have some sort of a bonus a gift coming from the government. That sounds like a good thing to some people, which is wild to me because that has to come from somewhere, and that place that it comes from, my friends, is someone else's pocket. Now, I know that you know who Winston Churchill is. I love Winston Churchill. He's got some things to say that he had said about socialism throughout his life. He, of course, fought the socialists, fought them tooth and nail. He says this: socialism is the philosophy of failure. It is the creed of ignorance and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. He is exactly right about that, my friends. That is exactly what socialism is. It is the equal sharing of misery. Socialism doesn't produce. It doesn't reward those who do produce. It takes from those who have produced. And in so taking from what they have produced, it also disincentivizes them from producing any more. It is, as Churchill said, the gospel of envy, and its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. During a 1945 general election campaign, Winston Churchill said this: the inherent vice of capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessings. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of miseries. This, again, is spot on accurate. This is what we are dealing with. But yet there are people who, again, become attracted to this because they've been led to believe that it's something that it's not. Socialism ultimately is force. Anytime the government gets involved, I've been through this before. John Stossel talks a lot about this as well. Government is force. So anytime you say by law we're going to do X, Y, and Z, what you're saying is if you don't comply, we will force you. And so socialism forces this on an economic level. And of course, it doesn't stop there. This is the problem. Anytime you accept that using government force to control the way that we engage in economic activity, or the way that dollars are allocated, or how much we can take from someone else and say that someone else is entitled to those dollars, the more that you do that, the more you open up the door for government to use force in other areas as well. And this has happened repeatedly throughout the course of history. Again, I don't know if these little socialists today have any idea about this. I don't know if they don't care about this. I know that this is what happens. And this, my friends, it has to be stopped. Some people just think that it's harmless. Look, what's the big deal? I just want to get a free education. I want to get a free health care. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Someone is paying for this, my friends. Someone is paying for this, and it should not be. You shouldn't insist that someone else pay for something that you want. Go out and earn it yourself. That's the way that it should work, my friends. But of course, that makes too many people unhappy because they're not willing to put in the work. Sometimes people have difficulty. I'm not saying there's not difficulties, but I am saying that if you look at what exists today, the technological advances, the standard of living, that none of that stuff would be possible if we had a socialistic economy. Socialism can't manage anything. Milton Friedman is a great economist, was a great economist, and he's talked about before. You've heard the analogy about government even managing the production of pencils. Simply pencils, managing the production and making sure people have enough pencils. There's no way the government could do even that one tiny job. There are so many things to manage, so many different vendors and types of materials that are put into a pencil, the coordination of that, determining how many you need, figuring out the cost and all that sort of stuff, and how to pay for that efficiently. None of that stuff can be achieved through socialism. It simply cannot. Listen, it is broken. It is broken. Socialism is broken in every conceivable way. There are no reasons to want to embrace socialism. There's none. There are no reasons to want to embrace socialism. That is, unless you're just someone who's a taker. You're someone who believes the lies and the utopian siren song that comes from those who talk about the benefits and the beauty of socialism. It is not. It is force. It is a disincentivizing ideology. It is morally bankrupt. It is not a good ideology whatsoever. It does not work. We know what happens. It ends in misery, but yet here we are in 2026, and more people are calling for more and more socialism. So, friends, there's a lot of confusion out there about kratom. You've probably heard the headlines, and most of those are based on synthetic junk that isn't real kratom at all. Real kratom is natural. It is tested. It is handled with care. That's exactly what you get from Christopher's Organic Botanicals. They are a family-run company. They partner directly with farmers in Indonesia. Every batch they produce is lab tested. There are no chemicals. There are no fillers. There are no shortcuts. This is a trusted herbal option that's been used for generations, and it is a real alternative for people looking for something that doesn't come with a warning label that is a mile long. You can start with their Kratom Starter Pack. Use coupon code ToddHuff to get 10% off your first order. Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. That's Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. Truth, tradition, transparency. You got to take a break here in a minute. When I get back from the break, my friends, we are going to shift gears a little bit. There's a couple things I want to get to. In fact, I think I want to talk. The White House Correspondents Association dinner was held this past weekend. In fact, if you remember, this was supposed to be held in April, but because there was an attempted assassination, yet another one, on President Trump, it had to be canceled and rescheduled. That was held this past weekend. Trump made some comments that have upset a lot of people. I want to share those and talk about those briefly. I might briefly hit on Sophie Cunningham again here, in the final segment of the program today. But I've got to take a break here, my friends. Wrap up here this segment. You're listening here to the home of conservative, not bitter talk. I am your host, the one and only, the ever so benevolent dictator behind the microphone, Todd Huff. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Third and final segment of today's episode here. Are you tired of spending your hard-earned money at businesses that turn around and support leftist candidates, leftist causes, these socialists that we've been talking about here today, my friends? That's exactly why we created Freedom Marketplace. It is a free searchable directory of businesses that share your conservative values, businesses that have vowed not to support leftist candidates or causes. You don't have to log in. There are no strings attached, just good, patriotic businesses pushing in the same direction you are. Check it out today, freedommarketplace.net. That's freedommarketplace.net. freemarketplace.net, liberty and business for all. Before the break, I had mentioned that there was the White House Correspondents Dinner over the weekend, Friday night. Looking at an article here, you've seen this elsewhere. This is the Daily Caller. CNN complains after Trump lampoons media critics during White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now, this was scheduled to take place back in April, my friends. But, of course, that was another event, another attempted assassination of President Trump. So they had to cancel this and reschedule it. Now, you might have seen in the past some, I don't know, clips of this. Maybe you watched this thing. I don't know. But this is intentionally, it's meant to be a little bit of fun. The president can say some, use humor and to attack folks. It's kind of like a roast, right? It's kind of like a roast for all parties involved, including the media. But Trump said something here that upset people on the left. So let me read from this article. It says, Trump notably took aim at CNN's Kaitlan Collins, joking he initially thought she had landed a Bud Light sponsorship before realizing it wasn't her on the can, it was Dylan Mulvaney. Now, this is a reference, if you remember this, Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender individual who got a brand partnership with Bud Light. This really harmed Bud Light's business tremendously. This was back in 2023. A lot of people began to boycott the beer. I mean, it really did damage to Bud Light. And Trump, again, doing what happens at these dinners. Now, listen, this is just the name of the game. And so Trump was comparing Kaitlan Collins to Dylan Mulvaney, saying that he thought that Kaitlan Collins had landed a brand deal with Bud Light, but then he said it wasn't her on the can. It was actually Dylan Mulvaney. This is interesting to me. We're told by the left that trans women are women, and you can look for yourselves. I'm not going to weigh in on this directly. You can say that was out of line completely. That's fine. You can say, well, this is what they should expect at these sorts of things. Everything is fair game, and it is. I mean, these things can get very, very personal. It's like a roast, as I've said. You can go and you can look up the picture and see if it's a stretch, see if it's, a joke. Maybe it's I don't know, a tasteless joke. I don't know. But it's the sort of thing that happens at these events. CNN had a response to this. They said this: Kaitlan Collins is an exceptional, trusted journalist being honored tonight for her depth of knowledge and the context she provides to audiences all over the world. I'm going to read the whole statement here. Sorry, I got to pull this up here. Okay, she reports every day from the White House and the field with real strength and tenacity and skillfully brings that reporting to the anchor chair and CNN platforms every day. We stand by her to the fullest extent. I mean, listen, maybe I didn't watch the whole thing. This is what I see. The statement that was given. The only thing I saw was what I just shared that Trump said. And CNN feels like it needs to give this. I mean, the things that they say about Trump at these things. I mean, it's borderline at best. Sometimes you cringe and think, man, you shouldn't have said that. And maybe you feel that about this. Listen, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, though. That is what these things are. I don't usually watch them. There's usually a headline or two that comes out of them. This is the one today. But again, I'm just thinking about this. If all women are women, trans women are women, then what's the problem here? What's the problem here? I mean, there has to be some consistency here. They can't define a woman. Then they tell us that biological men can be women. Reminds me briefly, I don't have time to talk about this, but Sophie Cunningham, kudos to her for coming out recently and saying that biological men, trans women, should not be playing sports against actual biological women. I mean, look, there are some really good some really good things happening in response to some of this lunacy out there. People are beginning to see that men are men, women are women, that these things are not what the left tells us that they are. Maybe sometimes the line is crossed both directions. I'm certain that it is. Maybe you think that this is. But anyway, I wanted to share that. But I'm out of time here as the music's kicking in, folks. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening. SDG.